Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Brittany Christina of the Brittany Christina collection, and this channel focuses on luxury, fashion, home decor, and entrepreneurship. So if you are interested in any of those things, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave me a comment. I would love to stay connected with you. Okay, y'all, in this video, I am going to do an honest review of the travel agency that I booked with recently called Luxe Tribes. So Luxe Tribes is a travel agency that really specializes in doing group trips for solo travelers. So if you are anyone like me, I will say about 2 years ago, I really started getting into like the solo dates, solo traveling, because I'm just in a season where coordinating a group trip with family or friends is a headache. I don't got time. I don't got time. Just tell me where I'm going. Tell me what I'm doing. I'll send you the money and I'm gonna show up. That's it. That's all I want to do in this season, right? I am not trying to book no trip. I'm not trying to deal with no people around me. Listen, I can tell you where I'm going. You can come if you got the funds and you ready, but if you're not ready, that's fine. I'll see you when I get back. Like I'm on that level. I'm in that that's the type of energy that I have right now, right? So I actually went on my first solo trip out of the country 2 years ago. And so my introduction into solo travel, I prefer to do it in a group setting, right? I have no problems traveling by myself, taking a plane, navigating on my own. I have no issues doing that. But I do feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that I'm going to a destination where there's an itinerary, where there's other like-minded people who are going to be there. Just wait, I don't have any issues. It's not like I'm truly alone. So 2 years ago, I did go to a conference in Cancun. It was for Black women entrepreneurs, and it was amazing. It was a solo trip, but I'm going to a destination. I'm able to network, meet other people, have this all-inclusive like experience, and it was lovely, right? So I've done that about like 4 times. So the Paris trip that I went recently, and if you have not had a chance to check out my most recent trip to Paris, I'm gonna link it somewhere up above and below so you can check it out. That was probably my 4th solo trip. So the women that I was on the trip with, I actually did not know. We met for the first time there, and it was such a great group, had a great time. But before I get into my overall experience, because I did enjoy the trip, let's go ahead and get into the travel agency, okay? So let's bring it back. So when I discovered Luxe Tribes, I have been looking at them for honestly the past 2 years because and there was a couple other travel agencies that I was looking at as well. I had a bad experience with a previous agency, a really bad experience. They were Black owned and it was just terrible. Customer service was terrible. So I didn't even get to go on a trip because just like the intro was just so bad. So I took a year and I was like, okay, I've been really eyeing Luxe Tribes for a minute. Let me just see what this company is about. Okay. Luxe Tribes is known for their trip to Bali. I've seen a lot of content about Bali. The experiences look amazing. Everyone seems to be having fun. So many reviews. Like it seems great. I think they're also known for like their trips to Greece. Honestly, like if there's any place that you're looking to go to, Luxe Tribes offers group trips. They throughout January to December, different various times. They also offer private trips. So if you wanted to coordinate a trip for your birthday or do a trip with you and your hubby or whatever the case is, like they do offer those services as well. Taking it back to Paris. So this year I turned 30 and Paris was on my list of places to go and the timing just seemed right. So I went to Paris in early September and that was also around like Fashion Week time, and then also the Olympics was happening in Paris. So I'm like, okay, this seems like a decent time for me to go to experience it where it's not too cold, not too hot. And again, that was kind of like my extended birthday trip to myself. Starting with communication. So before we actually get on the trip, I purchased the package that I purchased, and this is so important because this sets the tone for the rest of the trip in terms of my expectations. Okay. I purchase, so Luxe Tribes has different packages. They have, you can go trips on a budget, right? Which are like, the low thousands or whatever. But then they have ultra luxury package trips, which are on the high end from a price point. This Paris trip that I bought into was an ultra luxury, it was the ultra luxury package, meaning I paid top dollar. And I won't necessarily share the exact price, but you can go on their website to see like how much does an ultra luxury trip cost? Like it's there, right? So you can get a sense of like how much I actually paid for this trip. Again, this was my birthday. Let me, treat myself. I've been working hard. Like I have so much to celebrate, so many accomplishments over the past, in my 20s, over the past 10 years. Let me treat myself, okay? That's why I bought into this package. So let's go ahead and get into my overall experience, knowing that you know what package I bought into. So first, let's talk about communication. Prior to going on the trip, I was a little concerned. And the reason why I was a little concerned is because my travel agent, again, for this to be a luxury experience, I bought into the ultra luxury package. My expectation is that you over communicate. Like there's no reason why I need to be reaching out to you for anything. Like when even if this wasn't an ultra luxury package, right? Just if I'm buying into a trip and I kind of joined the trip a little bit late, right? But even more so because I, committed to the trip maybe like a month and a half before we actually went, like you should upfront share all of the information that I missed. I feel like I had an initial call. So I reached out via email before I purchased on their website. I had an initial call with them just to kind of get any questions answered. That part was fine. After that call, the travel agent that I spoke with, who was over the entire trip, I felt comfortable. Like, I mean, they were very easy questions. Like I already made up my mind that I was gonna go. I just wanted to make sure there were no red flags, and I didn't see any on that call, right? Afterwards, in my mind, because I joined a little bit late, I'm expecting once I send the first deposit or whatever, that then there's an email that's sent my way of, here are all the things that you've missed so far, like to get me caught up on the information. But there was crickets. And I felt like I had to reach out to the travel agent to be like, hey, like it's been, a couple weeks, like I haven't heard anything. Like what? And they do have, Luxe Tribes has a portal. So supposedly when you go on this portal, you should be able to see your itinerary. You should be able to see where you're staying, like the hotel that you're staying, just like all of the information should be on this portal. Well, in my portal, for whatever reason, there was nothing there. So like I'm looking and I see forms and stuff, but I'm not seeing any details about the trip whatsoever, right? And also before you opt into the trip, they show you like a suggested itinerary or an example itinerary, but it's not exactly what you're going to be doing, right? So I just felt like in the beginning, before we even went on to the trip, I was reaching out one too many times just to like get details. And the other thing is, a week, I feel like our hotel wasn't even finalized up until a week prior to where we were leaving. And our hotel changed like twice within like a 2-week time period, which was very concerning because you're going, number one, it's a group trip. Right, so I get like maybe like numbers or whatever the case was, but regardless of the number, like you should have a block for the hotel room. And if more people get added or what, I mean, again, I'm not doing the planning, I'm not doing the logistics, so that's none of my concern. The room should be blocked like at least a month out, even prior, more than that. Like we should know where we're staying. It shouldn't be 2 weeks before the trip and we don't know where we're staying. So that was just, I tried to go in with the open mind, but it was just like, for the price that I paid, ultra luxury experience, right? Like just on the one hand, it's just business courtesy, customer service, right? But on the next hand, it's just like, this is an ultra luxury experience. Like, you should be over communicating several days leading up to the trip, weeks leading up to the trip. Like, I shouldn't have to reach out to you to say, hey, is there a meeting? Hey, what's the hotel? Hey, what are the details? Hey, what's the itinerary? Like, I feel like I was just, I don't know what was going on, but it just seemed unorganized from the start, which gave me a little bit of a concern. Now, I will say we did have a group call prior to the trip. And from my experience, and it could have been because I started late, I don't know how many group calls that they have, but I participated in one that I knew of, that I was told about, that I asked, you know, to say, hey, is this happening? So we had a group call. On the group call, our travel agent actually went through the itinerary, and we were able to meet like just the other women that we were going to be traveling with. So that was cool. They then put us into a WhatsApp group as well, I think at least a week prior, so that we can also, you know, kind of start to get excited, start to interact with each other before we embarked on this trip together. So I did like that aspect of it. I just think that the rest of like the organization, like it just, there was some more initiative and proactiveness that our planner could have done to really get us excited, because it was just like, I paid my money and then I didn't hear anything unless I reached out and asked. So that was like my biggest red flag, problem number one. Okay, so let's get into the actual trip. So, and we could let's talk about the positive things first. Let's talk about the positive things and the things that I really liked about the trip. So first, we had a great group of girls. Like I believe there was 7 of us that were on the trip, which was a good number. It wasn't like too big, but it was just like very intimate. So we got to get to know each other and we just gelled so good together. And I think we were all very similar in terms of just like our mindset. Now, in terms of just dynamics, there was different age ranges. Was I the youngest? No, I think there was one other person who was younger. She might have been in her 20s, like late 20s. But we had, you know, women who were in their 40s. Like it was I think a healthy range, but like it was still just a really good group of women. So shout out to them, because they really made the trip like memorable and fun. Like I don't know that I would have enjoyed it as much if I was, you know, with just like a different mix. So I would say that like I loved our group that we were with. The other thing I really liked about the trip is, so we had a personal driver. So that, from like a luxury standpoint and, you know, what I'm paying for, I feel like that enhanced our experience, because we didn't have to figure out how to get around. We didn't have to, you know, try to take taxis, try to take the train. I mean, you very well could do that if you wanted to, but we had a personal driver to pick us up, waiting for us every place that we went. Even if we wanted to go shopping, even if we wanted to do something that wasn't a part of our group itinerary, like we had direct access. So I really did enjoy that piece. I also enjoyed the fact that we had a host with us. So someone who was actually from Paris, who could speak French. She was with us the entire time. She stayed at the hotel with us. She went everywhere with us. And that also, I think, made the experience worthwhile, because we asked her questions. Like, she's the local, right? She knew what are the best food spots. She knew where are the best places to go out if we wanted to hang out and see nightlife. You know, like we were able to ask her questions and have like direct contact to her from the moment that we landed in Paris. So that was really good. Other positive things, I will say, because we stayed a full week in Paris, I know a lot of people, when they do trips to Europe, they kind of do like 24 hours here, 48 hours here, and they hop. I really did enjoy staying in one city for the duration of the time, because there was so much to see, and we were able to do just a lot. So again, check out my video if you have not seen it, because we did so much, and I feel like there's still other things that I could have done. So I would definitely go back, but just with a different, just so I could see and do some of the things that I didn't get a chance to do while I was there. What else did I like? So I think my favorite part of the trip, we did do a day trip to Versailles, which is the King's Palace, and that was like beautiful. It was just really great to see. And during that trip, we actually had a tour guide. So I think there were other parts of the trip where we went to like museums or went to places and we didn't have a tour guide. Having those additional aids and people who can actually like teach us about the history and walk us through it, like those moments where we had access to those type of people, really enhanced my experience and gave me kind of like that luxe vibe that I was, you know, expecting. Okay, so let's talk about like the real honest review. Overall, the trip was not the trip that I thought that I had paid for. What they advertised on their website for this ultra luxury trip, we did not get that. We did not get that. Although I enjoyed my trip to Paris, that was my first time to Paris, I had a good time, it did not match up to the amount of money that I paid to go on this trip. And the expectation, and I get that everyone's perception of luxury is different, but based on what they advertised in terms of what we would be getting, how much I paid, the expectation, like the experience did not add up. It did not add up. And I really feel like they owe me money. We just going to keep it at that. So the first problem was where we stayed. I did mention earlier that our hotel wasn't locked down until like a couple days before we actually went to the trip, and the hotel changed multiple times. The room that we stayed in, and it's so funny because in my actual video to Paris, I kept saying I was going to do a room tour, and I didn't realize until I was editing the video that I never did the tour. And the reason why I never did the room tour or the tour of the hotel is because it was so small that it wasn't even worth seeing. Like my head, like if you look at some of the clips, my head blocked the entire room. So I think immediately when I checked into the hotel and checked into the room, I was disappointed because it was like a shoebox. It was so small. I had no view. My view was actually, I had a window, but I was looking like into someone else's room. Like it was, the buildings were like very close together. And I didn't know how to work like the air conditioning or the heating unit. Like it was just not, when I think about I'm paying to go to a ultra luxury trip, that is not the expectation that I thought. I didn't think that I would be staying in a place like that. So that was like the letdown number one, because yeah, I paid too much money to be staying in a shoebox like that. I don't know what happened, where the disconnect happened, but that was a terrible hotel for them to put us in. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we were hungry the entire trip. So take a step back. I know like people who've probably been to Paris say that the food is bad. I'm gonna agree with them. Like the food is bad, but I will say we went to a lot of touristy places. So a lot of the touristy places where we ate at, it was not, the food was just not good at all. And we went to some really expensive restaurants that had 3-course meals, and it was terrible. The food was so bad. It was so bad. Like we were hungry the entire trip. Also, outside of just the food being bad, that's not at fault of the company, but I think too, we were expecting to have, again, for the price that we paid, that there were going to be certain meals covered every day of the trip. And I feel like there were some days where we didn't really have a meal that was covered and we were coming out of pocket. So I think that was the other like expectation, or like the disconnect, is to me, again, based on the price that I paid for this trip, I'm thinking a lot of things would be covered, and extra stuff I would have to come out of pocket for. Like if I wanted to go shopping, if I wanted to do anything that was outside the itinerary, I would have to pay. Maybe occasional like a snack or whatever, right? But like our main meals, in my mind, based on what I saw, the original itinerary, what I bought into, should have been covered. And I felt like I came out of pocket too much for food, and especially food that wasn't good. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know what, and I will say too, like the actual itinerary itself changed in real time when we were on the trip. So our travel planner, travel agent used Canva. So we had links to it, and I packed according to what was on our itinerary, right? And literally in real time, things are changing, things are shifting, and there's no communication from the travel agent that he changed these things, right? So now it's like I need to rework what I'm gonna wear. Now you have one day that's like jam-packed full of stuff, and then we had another day that was empty, and we had to like, okay, well, I guess we'll go like, how do we, you know what I mean? Like we kind of had to improvise in real time, but there was no communication from the travel agent, and our host didn't even know that these things were happening, right? Like she also was just kind of like lost as well. So I think just in terms of just overall organization of the trip, it just was not organized. It was not organized. And then on top of that, so we were hungry, hotel sucked, there was no organization. On top of that, I feel like some of the activities that we did, I'll just say this. I feel like there was not, details matter, especially for something that you're claiming to be luxury. Details matter. And there were a lot of elements throughout the trip that if they just put a little bit more effort and did a little bit more attention to detail, that could have enhanced the experience 10 times for us, right? But I think a lot of the things that we did just seemed very ordinary. And not that there's nothing wrong with ordinary. I think, again, from the context of I paid for this ultra luxury experience, we did not get an ultra luxury experience. This was just a basic trip to Paris. Like we could have went on Groupon, Buy It, or whatever, and booked all these things and had the same experience. Like I didn't need to pay for this travel agency to do this if I was going to get the same experience doing it myself. And I think that is the overarching feedback that I kind of have for the trip, is that it wasn't luxury. We didn't get what we paid for. And that was the part that was just kind of like disappointing. Without going into details of exactly like all of the moments that we were disappointed, that was just like the overall thing. So burning question is, would I use Luxe Tribes again? And I think honestly, the answer to someone who is looking to book with them, I would say Luxe Tribes is known for certain things. Go where the proof is. Like if you can find content, find reviews on specific locations that they do well, there are certain things that they do so well that they master. Here, I also want to take a step back and say what I didn't realize booking with them. For whatever reason, I don't know why I thought that they were a US based agency, which not that that matters. They have different people who, so for example, our travel agent was from Kenya or Nairobi, Kenya, right? So, and for whatever reason, I get this inkling that like he'd never been to Paris before. But there's people who, they have multiple travel agents across the country. Or sorry, not across the country, but across the world. They have multiple travel agents across the world who help to plan these different things. So the first thing is go where the proof is. If you know they do Bali really well and you want to go on a Bali trip, go to Bali with them. Absolutely. 10 toes. Like I don't really have interest, but like if I want to go to Bali, I will book a Bali trip with them, right? I think I've heard that they do Santorini really well or Greece really well. Like go where the proof is. Go where the reviews are. If you want to go to a place that you cannot find anything, like for this Paris trip, I could not find anything on Paris. I couldn't find anything, but I'm like, okay, well, if they do this well, then they must do this. No, that is not the case because there are different agents planning different things. So the experience is not consistent. It's not. So number one, go with the proof is. Number two, if you really, really want to go somewhere else and you can't really find like a previous trip, content on a previous trip, Make sure you ask a lot of questions up front. Ask the travel agent, hey, have you been to this place? I think that is like the number one question that I would ask. Have you been to this place that you are planning? Because how can you truly plan an amazing trip and you've never been? Like, it just don't quite make sense. So I would say, number one, have you been to this place, right? Number two, I think one of the most important aspects of traveling out the country or just traveling period is where you stay. Where you lay your head at night matters, right? Like, you want to be comfortable. So make sure that you know where you are staying well in advance. Look it up. Don't just rely. And I think that's what I did initially. Like, I just rely, oh, they know what they're doing, I'm just gonna send my money and then that's it. No. If there's no proof that they can deliver, right, you need to almost take a passenger seat to planning, just to ensure that you are getting your money's worth and you are getting your expectation, right? So ask a lot of questions about the travel agent, but make sure you go, if they say, hey, this is where I'm booking you, you go look up the reviews at the place that you're booking, look up the pictures, make sure you understand which room am I being booked at, because don't show me a picture of this, presidential suite, but then you got me staying in a shoebox. Like, no, that's not what you said. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think there's just more due diligence that you need to do if you want to book a trip with them. And honestly, like, I think this is a great lesson for me, because even moving forward, like, no matter what travel agent like, if I decide to use them again or use another one again, like, I'm just gonna ask more questions up front, like, for sure, because yeah, I paid way too much money and definitely felt like I did not get my money's worth based on what I paid. So would I use them again if I wanted to go to Bali? Sure. If I want to go to Greece, maybe, because I don't see as much Greece content as I do with the Bali content. Like, I see Bali, their whole page is Bali and that's it. I mean, I don't want to say that's it. I see other things, but I think if there's other trips where I don't see as much content, I need to do my due diligence. I need 3 references, at least 2 to 3 references. So if I could find someone who went on a trip, like, I need to give me the real, like, what was the real experience? You know what I'm saying? Because this is our hard-earned money that we worked for. I don't got time to be just giving it away. Like, if I wanted to give it away, I would have chose another venue to do that, right? So that's it. This is not a video to bash Luxe Tribes. Like, I think the concept of their business is great. I think that they just need to do a better job at making sure that all of their trips are consistent, especially the ones that they're promoting as ultra luxury, the top tier ones that people are paying the top dollar for. Like, there especially needs to be just like an additional layer of due diligence to make sure that you are providing your customers with the service that you're promoting, right? And that they're able to get something that they can walk away and be like, yeah, that was great. Like, I didn't get that. We went on a basic trip to Paris. Now granted, I had a great time. I did have a great time. That was my first trip. I made the best of it, but it was not what I paid for. So that's it. Hopefully this video is helpful to someone who is thinking about using them, or just any other similar travel agency. There is a lot of travel agencies like them out there. So just do your due diligence, you guys. Go where the proof is. Ask a lot of questions and get 2 to 3 references, okay? Just to make sure that whatever you buy into, that your money is protected, you're protected. And yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Leave me a comment if you've traveled with them, used them. I would love to hear about your experience as well. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.